Hi there, welcome to Crafting with Kerry. So today what we want to do is to make rolled flowers. So here's an example of one. Now while they can look quite intricate, they are really easy to make. So let's get started. We move over to Design Space, and on your home screen you can look here for rolled flowers by simply typing in rolled flowers, and you will find a number of different projects that do come up. Now these are often member projects, so this one is very nice because not only does it show you what the cutout will look like, it shows you how that cutout is going to appear once it is in its final form of the rolled flower. So it can be quite difficult to visualize from seeing a spiral cutout how that is actually going to manifest into the final project. There are a number of different applications as well for rolled flowers. So as you can see here, there is rolled flowers used in the form of a centerpiece. I have also seen rolled flowers used as embellishments on cakes and cupcakes. There are also variations where you can use rolled flowers in a shadow box. So have a nice selection of rolled flowers here with, like, they have an ombre effect, and then on the glass perhaps some vinyl in a message or whatever the case may be. So there are a lot of different applications with rolled flowers in how you can use them in various projects, as well as even here they have a wreath, or you can use them as something little pretty on top of a present. And so we can either choose existing projects here if you see something that really will be part of and be suitable for your particular usage, or you can go to the canvas and go to images. So click on images, search for rolled flowers, and you'll see a number of different options do appear. And so there are quite a lot of variations of rolled flowers that you can use. And you'll see some of them have this little green flag in the corner. That means I have in fact bookmarked them. So I'm just going to quickly head on over to my bookmarked rolled flowers so we can select some to put onto the canvas. And so this one, as you can see, are quite uniform in terms of the petals. They're all a uniform size, and this one is different. So it starts off with quite small petals and then they grow larger. So we will go through that as well as to how we go about rolling that type of a flower. Now today I will be using my Maker 4. So I do want to use the maximum coverage of my cardstock. I do have a selection of various cardstock colors today. You can use what cuts very nicely on the Cricut machine is the American cardstock. So you can use a variety of colors. These are all the 30 centimeter by 30 centimeter or 12 inch by 12 inch sheets. And I do want to use these to their maximum today. So when going back to Design Space, I do want to ensure that I resize these flowers to the maximum capacity to ensure that we don't have, or at least have, minimal wastage. Now, the maximum cutting capacity of the 30 centimeter by 30 centimeter sheet would be 29.2 for your Maker machines or your Explore series. So here I would want to look at what is going to be my biggest measurement. So is it the height or the width? In this case, it's the width. And I want to change this width to 29.2. And I will want to do this for each of my flowers. So again, here the width is the bigger measurement that we're going to want to amend. The width again. In this case, it is also the width. And here as well. And so now we have our flowers really at the maximum dimensions that is really going to use the full sheet, or at least majority of the sheet of our cardstock. Okay, so once we have done this, we will then be prepared to cut. And you can also change each of your flowers. So if you want this flower to be in red, the same color as your cardstock, you can change that color using your material color. Or as long as each of them are shown as different colors, you can load in whichever cardstock you would like when you see that one appearing on the mat. We're now at the stage where we can click on Make. And we will be selecting mat. Using cardstock, we will be applying it on a mat for the purposes of cutting. And here is our mat size, 30 by 30, in line with the size of cardstock that we have available. And we do have each of our paper flowers shown here on the side. So we are then ready to cut. We can click on Continue. Once you've connected to your machine, you can then select your base material. It does come with a selection of popular materials, or you can click on Browse All Materials and look at the various cardstock. And you do have cardstock for intricate cuts, so if you're doing something quite fine or small or detailed, you can use that. Cardstock for adhesive backed, cutaway cards, deluxe paper foil, embossed, deluxe paper adhesive backed, glitter cardstock, and then you've also got things like your heavy cardstock, light cardstock, and medium cardstock. So typically you would use a medium cardstock. You would just want to look at your GSM for your particular cardstock that you'll be cutting to make sure that you get the appropriate cut and results for your Cricut machine. It now asks that we load the fine point blade and load the mat and press the load and unload button. Okay, we're now going to prepare our cardstock onto our mat. For cardstock, we should be cutting on a blue mat. So your LightGrip mat is what is going to be appropriate for the purposes of cardstock. Okay, try and align it from the top left corner within the white block. Okay, you can use your brayer just to make sure that everything is really stuck down quite well. You're not going to have any lifting areas, and everything is smooth. And we then load our cardstock into our Maker 4. It's measuring to ensure that we have the correct size material loaded, and we can then press the play button. Your Maker then checks that it does have the correct blade inserted for the purposes of your particular project that you're cutting, and then we'll continue with the cuts. As you can see, the Maker 4 is very fast. It is actually significantly faster than both the Maker and the Maker 3. And just like that, our project is cut and we can now unload. We bring that over to our workspace and we can then remove this excess area that we are going to be throwing away. And there we have our cut out flower. Now, typically for cardstock, you would want to remove the mat away from the cardstock. So how you do that is try and keep your cardstock as flat as possible and pull the mat away from the project. This just helps to prevent it from bending too much. Now, of course, today we're doing a rolled flower, so it's not the end of the world if it curls in places. But certainly when you are doing cards or something that you really want to remain flat, then you wouldn't want it to be peeling and curling in various places. And we're now ready to load our next color and cut our next flower. So we'll simply repeat this process for each of our 5 rolled flowers that we have selected. We can return to Design Space and select medium cardstock again. If you're going to be using your medium cardstock for every single one of your flowers, which is usually the case, you can also select here on Remember Material Settings, so you don't have to go through and select that every single time. And we can again repeat the process, remove the excess cardstock that we do not need. It's quite satisfying pulling out in that spiral format. And then we can remove our flower from these mats. And there we have our second flower, ready for us to roll. We can then load our next piece of cardstock onto the LightGrip mat. And I always do suggest to use the brayer. It does really help to get the adhesion down. You don't want areas to lift while the Cricut machine is cutting. We do want to then load our cardstock into our machine. we then can unload. And again, remove that excess cardstock from our cut project. Remove the flower from our mat. Okay, we have 2 more to go. Let's load the next one. So while you do need, or it's suggested that you do use a blue mat for cardstock type projects, it's not completely necessary. So I find that if I have a green mat that's kind of old and it's not sticking vinyl so well anymore, that might then turn into my new blue mat, just to ensure that I get a little bit more life out of it. As it becomes a little less sticky, it essentially changes from a standard grip into a light grip, and then I would use it for cardstock projects just so that I give it a little bit of extra life. The same with my purple mat. As it starts to really lose some of its stickiness, I then start to use it for things like your vinyls and your iron-ons, so that I just get a little bit more life out of the mats and I don't have to replace them and throw them away so quickly. As we go about loading our last flower, we get our cardstock ready. Make sure it's on nice and evenly, and then we load it into our Cricut. Wow, that is lightning fast. don't forget, once you have finished using your mat, to return the protective cover. That also will prevent any dust and debris from getting on that, and also just ensure that you get a little bit more life out of your Cricut mats. Now we have all of our cut flowers and we can start to roll them. So a lot of people do enjoy using the quilling tools to really get the roll nice and tight. So you do want to start from the outer end. This end where you have the big circle, that is going to be where you put your glue and really secure your rolled flower together. Okay, so we're going to just start rolling it quite tightly. Just want to roll it from the end, working our way inwards. You want to try and keep the bottom part as flat, or use that as your guideline. So once you've got a little handle on it, you can twist it like this. You can also cut out like leaves or other little embellishments to go with your flowers as well. And there's a lot of ways that you can use rolled flowers in various projects. Okay, so you just want to keep rolling all the way to the end. I like to try and keep it as tight as possible when I'm starting out, because you can release it a bit at the end. We see we've got quite a big circle area for glue, and we've rolled it quite tightly, so you can just let it go out a bit so that you can fill up the bottom of that circle area. So this is just going to be to your aesthetic, what you prefer. Okay, so I quite like that. And to then secure it, I use a glue gun. Okay, so you can use whatever glue gun suits you. I have a cordless one. I find it to be quite helpful, especially when making these types of projects. You don't want to have cords and everything in your way, so I find cordless to be one of the best ways to go. And once the light turns green, then it has heated up. And now that it's turned green, we can put a bit of glue onto this big round flap. And you want to make sure that it is pushed down quite nicely. Okay, so you want to push down the petals to make sure that it secures itself to that bottom flap. And once it is dry, you can fiddle with your petals a bit and fluff them out and really get your flower to look exactly the way that you want for your project. Okay, let's do another one. So we're now going to do the red one, again starting from the end, working your way inwards. You want to get quite a nice tight roll to start off with, using the straight line as your guide. Okay, so just rolling it up. Okay, trying to keep this all in line together. Now we have, again, a very big flap, and we've rolled our flower very, very tightly so we can let it a bit loose. So we get it the way that we want it to look. Okay. So once we are happy with our flower, we can hold it, add a bit of glue to that base. And then stick it on, pressing down. And there we have it. Another flower to add to our little display. And we then move on to our next one, our orange one. And it's just the same process. So even though there's different petals, even though like with the red one, there were some bigger petals and some smaller petals, it's still going to be the same process. So nothing different. It can be a bit intimidating and concerning when you see different size petals. It's simply going to be the same process. Okay, so using that straight edge as our guide, and we keep rolling. And as you get used to it, you get a little bit faster as well, and you can really pump out quite a lot of flowers in a very short time. Okay, as you get to the end, release your flower a bit until it suits you in terms of the size and the tightness of these petals being wound. And once you're happy with it, you can add a bit of glue to that flap at the back. You can still fiddle with it a bit as the glue is hot. Then as the glue dries, you're going to just fold out your petals a bit, and just helps it to make it a little bit more realistic. Okay, moving on to our next flower, we can roll it as we have done with all of our others. Okay, starting off quite tightly and then moving through. So we are tightly rolled. We can release it a bit so we get the desired look of our flower. Okay, once we're happy with it, we want to put a bit of glue onto that backing and then just adhere it to our bottom. So I like to push down just to get all those petals nicely adhered to the bottom flap. This is what it looks like from the bottom. So you've got your little bottom flap, and then you can, once dry, move your petals in a way where it will suit you aesthetically. And finally we have our yellow flower. Same process, starting from the outside, working our way in. Starting with a nice tight roll. and working our way to the inside. Okay, we're at the end. We can release it a little bit. And once we're happy, add a bit of glue to the bottom and stick it down. And there you have a beautiful display of flowers using your Cricut. I hope that you find this to be helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share this with your friends, and let me know what would you like to see next. Thanks so much for joining me today, and happy crafting!